I've been getting comments lately from people who just bought the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro and want to know the basic settings to start filming. Well, I bought this camera in March 2021 and since then I've discovered some valuable tips. So if you just got this camera and want to know the first necessary steps you need to follow to obtain the best results, you're in the right place. Believe me, it's not as complex as it sounds. Welcome back, grab your popcorn, subscribe if you haven't, and hit that like button. It helps the channel. My name is Ruben and I love music, filming, learning, and living happier every day. The possibilities of recording in 6K B-RAW up to 50 frames per second and 4K ProRes is amazing, as other more expensive and sophisticated cameras on the market can do that. It'll be an excellent choice in 2023 if you want to take your video production to the next level. For those who haven't yet decided to purchase it, you also need to know that this camera is mainly manual. You can use some lenses which electronically will allow you to have some autofocus, but if you don't count on any, you'll live happier as I do. As you can see, this camera has external buttons on the top and back. The recording button, the ISO, the shutter angle, and the white balance, plus 3 customizable function buttons. But as default, they come as follows. This one is for the safe area, the second one is for 3D LUT, and this is the one I use the most, false colors. Why? I will tell you in another part of this video. It also has another little button besides the recording button to take photos, but that is for another video. As this video is for beginners, I won't stay too long for more complicated settings and recording codes. You can find that in this video up here. Remember that this is to start shooting with the camera and obtain great results. Now, this camera uses NP batteries, lasting for 35 to 50 minutes depending on your chosen recording format and code. Camera is on. Press this button to open your settings. Let's go step by step. First thing you see is record. This page refers to codec and quality. Here you have 2 recording options, ProRes and Blackmagic RAW, but today we will only shoot in ProRes. Here you have different choices. You can select HD, which will give you a resolution of 1920 by 1080, Ultra HD with a resolution of 3840 by 2160 and 4K DCI, which is 4096 by 2160. After you selected your preferred resolution, you need to do something else. Under ProRes, you will see some letters, PXY, LT, 422 and HQ. Those are the compressions you need to select. You can go from PHY, which has the lowest quality, to HQ with the highest one. But it's also the one that will use more space in your media storage. To put things in perspective, on an Angelbird CF card 2.0 512GB, 4K PXY will give me about 7 hours of recording. On the other hand, HQ will only give me about 1 hour and 30 minutes. Big difference. Now, depending on your media storage, LT and 422 are middle ground that will give you excellent results. One of the things I discovered is that it's not 100% always necessary to shoot in B-RAW. Sometimes it may be better to shoot in ProRes and leave those RAW files for those huge projects. On the second page, you will see 3 options under dynamic range: video, extended video, and film. Film will give you the maximum dynamic range on this camera. The next one will be frame rate, but we'll see that later. And the next one is the preferred media. This is if you use an SD card, a CF card 2.0, or an external SSD. And the third page is for time-lapse, but for now we'll leave it on off. Detail sharpening off. If card drops frame, stop recording. And apply LUT in file. I have it off because I like to do my own color grading. This is where you will tell your camera what you want to see. It is an excellent way of assistance when you use an external camera monitor or an electronic viewfinder, which is not included with the purchase of the camera. First page. Here under LCD, I have selected only 3 options. I want that my LCD shows me the following: display 3D LUT, grid to help me to be straight, false area and guide, and focus assist. The last one is the most important for me. As I said before, this camera doesn't have any autofocus, so selecting this option will assist me in focusing in the part of the image I want, as it will become green, red, or white, depending on your preferences. I have green as my color of choice. Second page, here I have selected status text on, display emitters, and none in anamorphic discrete because I'm not using any anamorphic lenses. Third page, I have color lines. Fourth page, third and horizon. Fifth page, here I have selected 50%. This display has 1500 nits, meaning it's super bright. So choosing 50% when you're indoors can save you battery life. You can do the same for HDMI, which is the port for connecting an external camera monitor, and the same for viewfinder. Let's go to audio. Now here you can easily select, depending on what kind of microphone you're using, the channel and the gain. Now remember to test your sound after placing your microphone by checking your levels, right here. Avoid the end of the yellow and the beginning of the red area. That is what we call clipping, and that will make your audio. Also remember that this camera has a 3.5mm audio input for connecting video camera microphones, and 2 mini XLR inputs with 48 volts of phantom power for connecting professional microphones, such as lapel mics and booms. The next page is for headphones and camera speaker volume. I would leave them the way they are. Let's go to setup. Here we have 7 pages. We have date and time and language. At the bottom, we have shutter measurement. I have selected shutter angle, which is what cinema cameras generally use. You don't have to worry about changing the shutter speed every time you change the frame rate. And the normal or basic parameter is 180 degrees. Next is the flicker-free shutter base on. As default, it comes with 50 Hz. But I believe it depends on where you got the camera, America, Europe, or Asia. Drop frame time code off and display ND filter as stop. On the next page, we can leave everything as it is. Make sure that at the bottom in F1 parameter, false color is selected, and on the right, LCD. We don't do anything on the next page or in the next one. The next page will show you tally light LED. Select on. LED brightness, I have it in low. Auto dim display, I have chosen 10 minutes. The bottom shows you the hardware ID. The firmware at the time of recording this video is 7.9, and playback. Next is Bluetooth. That you can figure out yourself, but keep in mind that Bluetooth on will also consume battery. So if you don't use it, lose it. And the last page is very important. Here you will find different things. Reset camera, calibrate motion sensor, calibrate image sensor, and calibrate screen. Some of these are relatively new, as the camera at the beginning came out with some tint and color issues, and Blackmagic Design fixed them with newer firmware. And so, don't reset your camera unless you really need it. I've never done it. I have never calibrated the motion sensor either. However, the image sensor is very important, as it can affect the image quality depending on the ambient temperature, camera temperature, brightness of the background, and other very technical factors. It is recommended to calibrate your image sensor every time you change location or start shooting after not using the camera for some time, or after updating to a new firmware. One very important thing to keep in mind here is to cover completely the camera sensor. And this function takes a few minutes. Okay, we are out of settings. Press it again, and now we can see the image on display. On the top of the display, you have the frame rate. In this case, I have chosen 25 frames per second. The next is the shutter angle, 180. The iris, which is the diaphragm, the aperture of the lens, but you don't see anything here because I'm using cinema lenses and they don't have any electronic elements. The next is your time code. Next one is the ISO. Now, this camera has two native ISO, one at 400 and the other one at 3200. I recommend using 400 ISO during daytime or even in a well-lit studio, and 800 ISO in the evening and low light conditions. Going beyond 800 can produce image noise, but you can try and see it for yourself. Next one is white balance. Now you can always shoot in 5600 Kelvin or get a great card and do custom white balance every time you shoot in a different location. But try to avoid using auto white balance for obvious reasons. I always shoot at 5600 Kelvin because I shoot in B-RAW and can adjust easily in post-production should I need it. Next one is tint, and it should be set at 10. The next one is the battery meter. Unfortunately, Blackmagic Cinema cameras don't display the remaining power on display. If you have attached one of these, which I highly recommend, you'll see either AC or the voltage. And the last one is the shortcut to go back to your settings. And this is the last thing. Here I will tell you only about 5 buttons. The first 2 buttons are located on top of the display at the back of the camera. They are one of the things that convinced me to purchase this camera. They are internal ND filters. Are they perfect? No, they aren't. Is there a perfect camera? No. So compare having internal ND filters with changing the ND filter every time you change lenses and let me know. Don't believe everything people tell you. Number 3, the next button is placed on top of the settings and has a magnifier on it. This button will assist you in focusing while magnifying something in your frame. Number 4 is settings, which we already have seen it. And the last one is to see or play what you have recorded. When you press it, it will take you what is registered in your media. Well, you will see different buttons on the display, such as play, stop, backward, and forward. To get out of that page and return to the camera, press the stop button, the one with the square symbol. But there's one more thing. This button here is called false colors. It will tell you the areas that are overexposed and underexposed in your image. Although you can see all that in the histogram, follow this diagram here and stay safe from blowing up those highlights or crushing those dark areas. Avoid everything above the orange and under the magenta, mostly when recording in ProRes. Now, after following these steps and settings, charge your batteries and go out and film something. But the most important thing you need to do is to have fun. Thanks for watching. Remember to live happier, eat healthier, stay fit, and never stop learning. Peace and love.